Good morning and welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering wisdom for living on this year, Friday morning, Rise and Shine. And this morning here, I'm looking at a topic, do not burn out on a meaningless life. Do not burn out on a meaningless life. So welcome again, top of the morning to you. Hopefully you had a blessed night rest and you're ready to take on today with all its challenges and opportunities. And I'm really thankful for you to coming by with me here as we talk about these very important matters. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you again for the words that you give in the Bible, the things that you reveal about the human nature under your spirit and also fallen. May you bless us, dear Lord, that we might understand and that we might live. Be with me, I pray, and those who are listening, for Christ's sake. Amen. So I'm looking here at this important, very interesting topic, which is do not burn out on a meaningless life. And this is where now I enter into the book, a new book here I'm dealing with from Fridays, which is Ecclesiastes. So I'll move on to one of the wisdom passages here, Ecclesiastes. And Ecclesiastes chapter 1 kind of give you an intimation of what the book is about. This is Solomon here, and this is powerful things here has to do with a meaningless life, and a lot of what we'll read going forward in the next weeks will deal with these issues here of life. So Ecclesiastes chapter 1, and we're looking here at the whole chapter. So I'm going to read it through one time as I usually do, and then I'm going to take it piece by piece. And it's not a piece here because it's very straightforward, at least in my mind. Do not burn out in a meaningless lifestyle or a meaningless life. And other ways to say it is do not be worn out. You can be worn out on a meaningless lifestyle. So a person could be like, they're being beaten and they say, man, I'm worn out. And it's literally most of their energy, morally, emotionally, intellectually, just everything that they have, their physical energy is all gone on a meaningless lifestyle. You could become exhausted. A person could be fried like a nice piece of tofu. They could be frazzled on a meaningless lifestyle. They could be spent, or they could be used up. So you don't want to do this. And so in all aspects of life, this can happen to us. So let's read this, and we'll pick up some of what the preacher is saying, or the teacher, depending on the translation you're reading. Ecclesiastes 1, verse 1 through 17, I think it is. It says, the word of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where it arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turn about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the river come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor, man cannot utter it. The eyes is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The things that at being is it is that which shall be, and the things which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of the form of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things which are to come with those that shall come after. I, the preacher, was thinking over Israel. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I gave my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under the heaven. There, this sore travail hath God given to the sons of man, to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I communed with my own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate, and I have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of spirit, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. So that's Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1 through 18. So very powerful stuff here that he's talking about. He's talking about stuff that even reading this, the topic, the topic can be applied. Do not be burned. Do not burn out on meaningless lifestyle. Even reading about the preacher here talking about vanity of vanity and all this vanity and vexation of spirit and meaningless. One could get burned out on this if you have obsessive compulsive disorder, trying to understand even the word of the Lord, just trying to understand at times. It teaches you that there's a time and place for everything, and there is nothing new under the sun. So you just can put the Bible down sometime and just inhale and take it in and meditate upon what you just read, and then go about your business. Normally you see when somebody get into like fanaticism, they're burning themselves out because they trying to wear out the text or wear out the concept, and they just get all caught up into it. You realize there's something wrong with them. They need to let it go and go relax, go on a vacation, go enjoy the wife of your youth. It's going to come up in this chapter. And so the vanity of vanity and vexation of spirit. So he says, I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly, and I perceive that this also is vexation of spirit, which is true. If you listen to Revive Reform Radio, there's times when, I listen to the program, and then when I stop the program, I just move on to something else, because you can't give too much to even what's going on in the world. If not, you just have what he says here, vexation of spirit, and so if you know me personally, outside of when I do a 1 hour talk, I don't have vexation of spirit because I don't get burned out of the information. I can be reading some of the most gross information while eating lunch. It's okay. I don't take it too serious to a certain degree because, some of it is a laugh. It's a joke because people want to play the fool. And this is what Proverbs did. Proverbs chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 1 set in stage the motion. It teaches you, look at some of these young kids. They're there. You can't talk to them. You can't advise them. You can't say nothing to them. And they're going to get burnt out, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, on their lifestyle, the meaningless lifestyle. But you can't talk to them because they're young and they're going to conquer the world. And they're going to outsmart everybody that ever passed before them. And they're not going to work because they're going to find out it's all meaningless and useless. And so you look at it, like the Bible says, hey, the Lord laugh at this stuff because it's not going to work. So that's why it's important to note that when you even partake of so much wisdom, like what we claim to do here on Revive Form Radio, that there's a certain point where you're just going to increase sorrow. That's verse 18. So I'm going to take it now piece by piece. So you see how important this is. That do not be burnt out on meaningless lifestyle, because you can be worn out on a certain lifestyle, especially if the lifestyle is meaningless. You can become exhausted, fried, frazzled, spent, used. And it's important. Somebody said, well, when you say use, we mean use. If you live in a lifestyle where you're a fornicator and you're not married to anybody, you're not having a quality lifestyle, you will be used up. And the person who's writing this, the preacher, he became spent. By the time we reach in a few more chapters, we'll see that that's what happened. And if you read Proverbs chapter 3, you see real quickly that he became almost crazy. Because why? Because he had gone the way of a meaningless lifestyle. So you want to take his teachings and take it very seriously, because then you won't end up where he ended up and almost lost his salvation. So Ecclesiastes 1 verse 1 now. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Israel. So again, like in Proverbs, we see here that there's a certain point in Solomon's life, the son of David, that he's come to this conclusion that this is meaningless because he's attained to whatever everybody always want to attain. And he got it all. So just in case somebody say, well, if one wife is good, what would 1,000 wife be like? And you could just go to Solomon and you read these words, you realize, oh, I see. Solomon did it. If getting up every day and have people to play for you, imagine you could have the musicians that you respect, you think they're the best of the craft, and you love what they produce. And you could have them day in, day out, one by one, come and play for you. And many of the presidents has experienced this. And if you notice, with all the presidents that have gone through this experience, it worn them out. All the presidents go gray after they leave the White House. It shatters them because it is constant feed of information and entertainment and the best foods that life could offer, which is going to kill you anyhow, because it's just the worst foods, really. If you understand health and brain chemistry and brain electrical impulses, and that certain foods, they create low activity in the brain and cause depression. So you make your life feel more vain. You burn out. So this is the king here. So he's like Nebuchadnezzar is eating the king's diet because he's the king. He's sleeping with the king's women, the women that kings would sleep with, because he's the king. And that's going to be the worst type of females you can deal with. The worst type of food. You're getting the worst type of entertainment, the worst type of anything. And that's how I interpret Ecclesiastes. He's describing, in truth and fact, for me and you to know, what was it like to be Solomon. And basically, it was a vain waste of time. That's what it is. Just why Jesus, when he came, he didn't live like Solomon. The prosperity gospel, all of them, preachers want to live like Solomon. And you get to read the Bible, and Solomon is saying, don't waste your time. Don't do it. Vanity of vanities, verse 2 said the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. I personally believe all is vanity. I understand the fact. Somebody said, but isn't the fact that, we live this life and it's just a probation and it's not a real life that we're supposed to live in? True. But while we live this life, we cannot really go to this extreme of somebody that went in that fanatical way of living, live a life that is just total extreme. And I'll explain a little bit later on why I say this more so. Because then one would say whatever Christ did when he came on the earth is vanity of vanity, and all his vanity is a waste of time. We don't believe that. We don't believe that all the life lived for Christ is not vanity. The life that Solomon lived, that was vanity, right? The life that Christ lived is not vanity. Living a life to bless your fellow human beings, to live righteous, to bless the poor and the widow and the fatherless is not all vanity. The life that he lived is a vain life. I'll explain more later. I'll show you more. Because that's what it is. We couldn't say the life of Paul. The life of Paul before he found Jesus was a life of vanity. It was useless. What was he? What's the value of what he was doing? You get up and all day long you're hunting people who are righteous. And you're treating them like they're murderers and they're fugitives and vagabonds on the earth. That's vanity because it's useless. But a person that gets up every day and they're serving their fellow human beings, this is not vanity, but this is not what Solomon was doing. So here Solomon says, now, what profit hath a man? As a matter of fact, I might say here, Christ says that the person who lives for him, they're touched with eternity because they're really finding the true purpose. That if Adam believed in sin, the true purpose of human beings would be to serve the plants, serve the animals, serve each other, serve the angels, God, and even deeper, the unfallen world. A life of service, a life of vanity. But here he tells you all is vanity. And later on he says vexation of spirit. The more hoes, the more vexation of spirit. The more alcohol, the more vexation of spirit. The more drugs, the more vexation of spirit. The more vain music, vexation of spirit. It's uselessness. There's no value to it. Notice here, vanity of vanity, said the preacher. Vanity of vanity. All is vanity. Other translation just simply views this as meaninglessness. Meaningless. So he's basically saying meaningless, meaningless. All is utter meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Verse 3 says, what profit hath a man in all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? Even this here in Solomon say labor. I guess, have you ever read any analysis of the value that the British monarchy brings to Britain. And when you find out they have a job, like everybody else. Their day job is tourism. That's a main part of their day job. See, people go to see the tourist attraction. They're like tourist attraction. They're like going to the zoo or something like that. And not in a derogatory way, but you go there because you're going to see something exotic. And they, for the modern world especially, is exotic. 200 years ago or 100 years ago, people don't go to Britain per se to see the Queen. They go there for business because that's who the monarch is. But now, because they're primarily not running the business part of this, whatever, they're still part of the operation of the country, but in a bigger way. They're not more. They go there for the tourism, to see the palace and to see, the horse-drawn carriage and stuff like that. And they had millions and millions of dollars to the economy. They have a tourist value. I'm sure there's a other value, but that's the biggest part of their draw. You go to see the castle and all that. So a lot of what the lifestyle of a monarch is really a vain lifestyle. What profited man in all his labor that he done? Verse 4. One generation passeth away, and another one cometh, but the earth abideth forever. So this is important. As you think about this life, for how long it's been going on, how people get wound up in the here and now, for good reason, because that's all they know. And they're trying to protect what they know. But think about all the kingdoms that have come and gone. And think about Pharaoh. Probably he's the biggest global kingdom before there was start to have these global kingdoms. Biggest entity on earth at the time, largest kingdom. And think about how wound up he get because he didn't know God. He rejected God. And he put all his energy to be drowned in the Red Sea. And after he gone, you can't even figure out exactly who his name is. Who was his deputy director? Who was the third in charge? Who are these people? You can't even know. And so you can see how sometimes you can put so much effort into nothing. And this is why one have to be careful of a lifestyle where you burn yourself out of nothingness. This is why it's good, I believe, to learn to pull back from life and say, why am I going so hard? I need to go enjoy some life. Without drugs and alcohol. Without the hookers. So one generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. As I say, if you ask people, who is the vice president? If I ask you who's the vice president for President Reagan, you probably say it's George Bush Sr. But a lot of times people many people sometimes don't even know who's the vice president, much less to know anybody else. Who's always the main person, the Speaker of the House. Or it's like, who knows these things? People don't even pay attention to that. And so somebody can fight for something and they get it. And when they get it, it's like, what's the point? I think I told you this story before, but I heard the story quite a few years back on a Christian radio. And this person was telling a story that when he was in high school, they had worked so hard and fought so hard to win a state championship. And after they win the state championship, I don't know, in basketball, football, I don't know what it was, they won the trophy and it was put up in a glass case, and it was just the biggest achievement of their life. Years later, he went back for some reason to the school, one of the players on the team went back, and they found the same trophy that they had fought so hard for, probably 2 decades later, was in a storage area, dust covered, and it just put away. It has no meaning. And it made them feel like, man, all this hard fought battle that we fight for in this life, for what? What was it there for? For the moment. But who's going to remember that? Who remember the state championship winners in, say, basketball for any state in the 70s? Probably those who played on a team. Probably those or whatever. But most of the people are already dead already. So much percentage of that class is already dead sometime in the 30 years later, 40 years later. And you had somebody say they fought so hard for something. That it's like it matters. You can imagine somebody fighting hard to shoot people that was going to try to cross over a border, when they had the wall built in Germany. And the day before, probably somebody tried to escape over to West Germany. And the next day they say, we're going to take down the wall. And like, what is all that for? Vanity, vanity, So one have to be careful when not getting burnt out and work out on something that when you look at it, it's like, what am I getting worked upon? You have these discussions. I'm fascinated with them since of late because I'm thinking about this idea of life and how vain life is. Somebody will argue, like, who is the best, ice hockey player in history, or who the top 5 ice hockey player, who the top 5 soccer player, who the top 5 rapper, who the top 5 rock and roller, who the top 5 baseball or basketball player, and so forth and so on. And people get into these heated discussion and they talk about it. You were like, wow, this is exciting. And then you say, wait a minute, why is this exciting? What changes in life? Who the top? Who is the top at nothing? If as I said, if somebody just stopped playing baseball and nobody played ever again, what would change in life? You'd have to get up today, go to work. You're going to take care of your family. You're going to have to do something. It does not take away any value from life. But I'm going to tell you something. If there's air pollution and you could die from lung cancer, it's probably good to clean it up. That's more value. Because if you don't, there'll be dead bodies. You see, in life we can put so much emphasis on something that really, when it's all said and done, it's like blah. It don't mean nothing. But you look at the life of Paul, you look at the writings of Paul, you look at the writing of Matthew, that has value. And from one generation to the other, it has blessed people's life. But who was the most powerful joyster? I don't know if that's a proper word or adjective. When the two men, you ever see the videos or the movies depiction of it in Britain, or I don't know if they did it in other parts of Europe, where two men go on a horse, they have all kind of metal cladding, and they have this big long stick, I think it's called a joist, and they run down like a line with it and then try to hit somebody off the horse with it. And I can imagine so many people got their brains poked out and their chest or neck poked out with that thing and die. And they say, we won. And you're like, who won? Where? What? Do we remember any of that stuff? I have no value. But those who changed the world because they were a blessing to the world, they have value. And we know their names. And they've blessed us even to this day. They still say, we're going to calculate, I think the original person, can I get this right? Whoever, what's his name? Holmes? No, not Holmes, but one of these guys that, came up with a design for like the battery, modern battery. And we still use the design. People still remember that. Because their life has value. And so this is to me how I view this. I just view it that, the more that vain life where you don't sometimes take care of what it is. Imagine you have a bar. The bar is closed now. And all the people used to say that a bar is dead. What value do they bring to life? Most of them, they probably are just wife beaters. A bunch of people sitting around on these stools that were going to be wife beaters. They didn't have no value. And the more people live like this, the more this world feel like it's useless. Sin creates uselessness. The more sin and the more meaninglessness we are into, the more mindlessness is the more we can read Ecclesiastes 1 and say, yep, that's true. That's my life right there. Meaningless. Vain. Keep going, verse 5. The sun also riseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where it arose. The wind goeth towards the south, and turneth again up unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuit. So this is what we call this, the circuit of the wind. We studied today, and when we talk about high pressure, low pressure. We talk about the barometric pressure. We talk about, if there's too much moisture and the wind is blowing a certain way in a certain area, we might have a rain, we might have a storm, we might have a tornado. It has value, but it's just continue. And when I see this cycle, whether it be the next cycle here, verse 7, all the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full, unto the place from whence the rivers come. Thither they return again. When I read this is what I talk about. Do not burn out on meaningless lifestyle. This is even when you observe the planet. You observe everything. Things just keep going. And you have to realize, what is your life for? What is the meaning of your life? What is the purpose of your life? Live life with purpose. Because you're going to be here today and gone tomorrow. And this world going to keep going. You know, when you're younger, you could start a career, start a job, and you realize you start to act as if, man, this is mine. This is all mine, and you start to take it so serious, and then you realize, man, the person next to you just dropped dead, and next week they replace that person, or the person next to you retire, and the life move on, and you realize, I'm just here for a little bit. So what type of life do I live? And when I deal with this person, I don't know about you, but I've often come into what you call a flashlight police. A flashlight police to me is a person that acting as if they have real authority and they probably could shoot me. And all they have on their side of their hip is a flashlight. And they take it so serious, and I'm like, person, this is not that serious. I'm just trying to get through this gate to go over there. What you want? You want my ID? You want $5? What do you want? Like, relax. You don't have to act as if you are a king or a queen. It's just you're here as a security. But people quickly make things get to the head as if, they don't understand. We have to live light on this world. And it's good to have honor, respect, to others, treat people with dignity. But people act as if, this is all in all, this is so important. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not saying your job is not important to you because I pay you, but you're not secure in Fort Knox. Take it easy. Take it easy. Don't stress yourself too much. You're going to develop a heart attack because you're overly putting too much effort. Now, does that mean that you don't work hard? Yeah, but at a certain point, you don't kill yourself for a job. You don't burn your life out and create suffering. This is what I get from this text. You don't put yourself on the suffering. You don't make others suffer. You have these people, I think this is supposed to be like class 101 for police officers who are true. They're not flashlight police. They have a gun. If somebody's acting out of order, you have to probably put some bullets in them. I understand. But you deal with general public. Relax a little bit. If somebody's not dealing with you aggressive, you don't need to act as if you're losing your mind. Because if you live like that, you might go need some antacid, some thumbs, they call it. You might need some Prozac or Zoloft or something to calm yourself down, some weed, because you're working yourself up a little bit too much. If somebody give you the business, then you give them the business. I understand that. But in this life, you can't grind yourself down. There's a certain point where you have to say, punch out, I'm going home. Why are you going home? Because guess what happened? The sun is going down and I'm not going to make it catch me here. I'm going to go home. I'm going to enjoy the life. Because guess what? Soon I'm not going to be here. Doesn't mean you don't put in your 8 hours or your 10 hours. But there's a certain point where you can't hurt yourself. There's many people, they give it all and they don't enjoy life. They just enjoy one thing because they have to me, an addiction to whatever. Or they're trying to run away from home. That's why if you hear me talk about certain things, you got to straighten up the house so you can go home and you can relax and enjoy some life because you're only going to be here for so long. So you do not burn yourself out in a meaningless lifestyle. So somebody said, well, are you saying people's job is meaningless? Some jobs are very meaningless. If you're a bouncer, that's what you do. You secure a bar. Don't take a bullet for anybody. You know what I mean? Don't get stabbed. Just calm yourself down. If you have a situation that come in and it's out of your control, call the police. Let them deal with it. So someone say, why? Because, you're just bouncing a bar. If you never do that for the rest of your life, nothing will change in this life. As a matter of fact, it would be better if the bar closed. So watch the type of things you're doing and don't, overwork yourself in it and get yourself indigestion or heart failure over stuff that, happen tomorrow. Well, it says verse 18, all things that are full of labor and man cannot utter it. The eyes is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ears filled with hearing. And this is true. If you think about life, you think about like music. You have a new song come out this month. And I used to be on that treadmill. And next, you have a new song come out this month. Next month, a new song come out. And you can't say, oh man, this is the next hit. Oh, you get excited. That's especially when you're younger and your hormones are pumping and you're excited for nothing. And then after a while, you'll be like, wait a minute. If I don't go or participate or look into the next new whatever, it don't really matter. It don't really matter because just new stuff always coming out. And you could get so wind up about stuff that you live that kind of vain secular lifestyle where it's always about the newest shirt, the newest this. And then if you stop it, you don't buy the newest anything, or you take a break from it for a year. Say, I'm going to take a sabbatical from all the latest whatever. You find life goes on just the same. It goes on as the same. I have a bunch of sweaters, and there's this 2 sweaters that I have that they're old now, but I like them the most. And I have newer ones that I don't even like wearing because I don't like them. And you sometimes you realize, sometimes you know when you're in that world where you're buying the latest thing, and you could buy something that's not expensive because the two that I like, they're not really expensive, they're just normal price sweater. But it just so happened that I don't know, that they look better on me, they feel nicer on me. It's just there's more to them than just the design. They look nice, but they don't look great. They're not cashmere, they're not anything like that. I don't even know if they're even natural material. It's just I like them. I like to put them on. I like how I look in it. I like the feel of them. Everything about it I like. When I first bought it, I didn't think about that. So sometimes you could get excited over whatever, and then there's certain things that just fits you better for your body shape and all that, and you realize, man, all the other stuff, I can just take it and chuck it, which I often do, just go in and start throwing out stuff, because these are the ones I like, and they could be old, but I still like them. And I said, man, I wish I could just buy sweaters just like this all the time. Something you ever been to the store, you go, and the stuff that they've designed, you be like, who they design this madness for? And then when you walk on the road, you see somebody in it, you're thinking, yeah, it's some crazy person that designed this for, because this thing is some crazy, like somebody get a cloth and just like grab it and go and tear off one part and go tear off another part and say, yeah, that's the design. And somebody say, you just tore up the person's clothes. And they're like, oh yeah, that's going to be a hit. And so it's all vanity and vexation of spirit. So in life, to me, I'm believing life that, and I believe that this is what you're trying to do. You try to work out all the vexations. You can enjoy some life here on this earth. You can have less frustration. You're working out the vexation. Now, are you going to get vexation? Yeah. People are going to die. Things are going to fall apart. But you don't work it out. You see people, they come and go. Administration come and go. I remember years back, I was dealing with this family, and the husband was a lawyer. The wife was a lawyer also. And the husband said to me, because it was just a presidential election, and whoever had won came into office, and he said to me, I think it was when the first time President the Bush Jr. had won, and he said to me, say, Lloyd, one thing with this life, tomorrow morning, everybody's going to get up and go to work, and they're going to take care of the family, and they're going to do whatever. And, he said, I've seen so much of this cycle, and people just keep on with life. The American public just keep working, keep taking where they take care. And these people, they come and go, they create a lot of problems, and then they're out of office and life moves on, and people get excited, people do stuff that they ought not to do, or they do good things. But he says, at the end of the day, people go to work and they take care of the family. And he says, so, you can only get caught up with this type of stuff so much. At that time, I wasn't caught up with it at all. I, wasn't even paying too much attention. But let's just always remember that people just going to get up and keep doing their thing. You have to get up and do your thing. So you have to focus on your business more than any other business. I say to young people all the time, you go to work, you remember, you're working for the business. You don't own it, especially if you're not the business owner. You don't own it. Somebody else's business. Your business is yours cut. Whatever cut they give you, your cut. What you do with that cut and what you do with your time outside of that business is yours. Make sure whatever you do is become something that you're taking care of your business, because you want to make sure that when you finish and after years of working, your business is better than if your managers are the owner of the company business. And it's possible. Take care of your business. Because guess what happened? This cycle just keep going, and you're replaceable. You never sell your family short. You don't sell your health short. You don't sell your integrity for any system. I would say the same thing to Solomon workers. Don't follow this crazy guy who's having 1,000 wives, because that's what Rehoboam did. Because guess what happened? He's living a very vain life, and it's all useless. Make sure you're taking care of your family, yourself. And number one, make sure you settle your account with Jesus, with God. Because guess what happened? When it's all said and done, the more vain is the more hell you head into. Notice here, all things are full of labor and cannot be uttered. Verse 9 says, the thing that had been it is that which shall be, and the things which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Now, recently, my sister alerted me to a young man who often some crazy doctrine. Not Christian, I'm assuming. He touched with some Christianity. But this guy's just crazy. He lived a life like Solomon lived. You know, many people believe that Solomon did sodomy. He did everything. And so this young man doing that. He was a male prostitute at one time. He has wives. He says he's not a homosexual. He just practiced that thing for a little bit. He ended up with 4 wives, and now he's down to 1 wife, and he's just experienced a whole lot of craziness. So I looked at it a little bit, not too much, because I was like, vanity and all this vanity is a waste of my time to a certain degree, but just enough to understand what's going on out there. And what I gathered from it is what Solomon just said. When you do that multiple wife thing, Solomon did it, and Proverbs chapter 3 tell you he was vexed. He was miserable because all the infighting with all I can imagine 1,000 women try to get your attention and seeing who is hot, who is the hotter. 1,000 women need to put on makeup, and need to put on jewelry, and need to put on, back then they didn't have butt injection and breast injection, but 1,000 women need to see who looks the better, need to have the best hairstyle, need to have this, that. And who is paying for this? The taxpayer. Who is being frustrated by this? Solomon. Who is frustrated by all the fightings and infightings and the gossip? Imagine you could just have a whole Enquirer or gossip columns from all the newspaper in the country covering the infighting amongst these 1,000 women. Can't imagine. And the Bible describes them as outlandish female. That's what can't remember who in the Old Testament described them. I think Nehemiah. Outlandish women that he was married to. You can imagine the madness. Is absolutely crazy. So when you look at this is real vain life. And most people say that's the life I want to live, because that's the good life. That's the person living the best life. You think who are the biggest, most famous people right now? They're living the good life, but they're living the vain life. And he says this is very frustrating. Imagine living a life where now you have to be worried about all the people in your court, because every person in your court is trying to have sex with those 1,000 wives. You now have to be trying to fend them out because you can't deal with all these women. And so other men working there like, I need my own cut of all what's going on in Solomon. It's pure infighting. He started having so much infighting that now Jeroboam became an enemy of his. So he having people want to take him out. And leadership. So pure frustration. Because you're trying to keep something going and you can't. You can't satisfy 1,000 women. So other men try to satisfy them. You have them fighting over each other who is the best. They're outlandish. So when they're outlandish, they're always looking for attention, and somebody's going to give them attention. You can't imagine. I imagine Solomon probably have a few sons and daughters that are not his. They're just given to him by other the workers them underneath him. And then the lady say, oh, here's your son Solomon. Give him your name. Bless him. He's a prince. So notice in verse 10, is there anything that can be said is new? Not new. Somebody say, how you know all this? Well, you read some Bible, some G White, and then you observe other kings out there living. And then imagine a king with 1,000. Most people can't even rule their own household, much as run a country of 300 million. Imagine all the mess that we have in our hands with somebody that sleep around. Imagine sleeping around with 1,000 wives. You can't imagine the mess. And so all is vanity. And notice it says, there is no remembrance of the former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. When I read this, I always think about the story of what happened before the flood. You don't know. Like, who was the leader of the people before the flood other than Nimrod? Or was it Nimrod after? It was Nimrod after. He built Babylon. So it was after. But before the flood, nobody. What were they known for? Oh, just a bunch of rebels and just being prepared for God to massacre them, wipe them out. That's all. To drown them all. Even the animals, because the animals all of them were hybrids. They were genetically engineered animals. The people were sodomites. They were murderers. They eat meat. They just live a wicked life. And what was written of them? Nothing. Just they vexed the Lord because their life was so vain. And so the more vain you live is the more you're vexed. And the life is vexed. And the Lord says, I'm just going to bury them. And the Lord buried them. So do not get burned out in a meaningless lifestyle. You can be exhausted living a meaningless lifestyle. You can be have you ever been on a vacation, and when you go to the vacation, after you come back from the vacation, you want to take a vacation from the vacation? Because you just here, there, and you're not really rested. You're exhausted. I remember the last vacation I went on, I didn't get exhausted when I came back. By the time I came back, I was rested. But when I reached there, I forget that I was 3 hours, at a 3 hour difference. And so I didn't go to bed until late. We were out, we were doing this, we were doing that. And it seemed to not dawn on me that when I was going to bed 12:01, it was actually 3-4 in the morning. And I was up about before the previous morning. So I felt sick the next day. I was like, man, I think I'm going to go sick. I didn't realize I wiped myself out. And I flew on Sunday. So Saturday all day, Sabbath all day, I was in church until in the night. So it was like I had 3 nights. And then Friday I was up late, preparing for the Sabbath worship. So it was 3 exhausting days. And then by the Monday, I felt like I was going sick. So I've learned over and over again, you don't burn yourself out and nothing. Another thing I say in ministry that I've learned, and I say this to you just to give you wisdom, that, sometimes you have to take a little break and drink some tea and put your foot up a little bit and take a deep breath. Because even in ministry, I've learned, you don't burn yourself out for somebody who's not burning themselves out for themselves. This is one of the things I learned. You can be more excited about the salvation of others than they are about themselves. And the only thing I've learned, and the Bible is going to tell you that in a second, whatever is crooked not going to be made straight unless they want to be made straight. So, you could be there burning yourself out on your knees praying for somebody. And there's a certain point you need to get up and go for a walk in the park. Go for a bicycle ride. Go sit and talk to your family. Enjoy your family. Get up off your knees. Do like what, the Lord said to Samuel. Get up and stop crying over King Saul. Go anoint somebody else, man. Stop it. And notice here, he says, there is no remembrance in verse 11. Verse 12 says, I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. And I gave my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under the heavens. And notice he says here, this is the big one to me. I could spend the whole time on this. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. Like God has done something to keep us busy. You ever see a hamster? I think that's what it's called. Gerbil. I can't remember the name. Hamster. You know the thing that goes on the wheel and he just keep running. He runs. And you'd be like, does he know he's not going anywhere? Does he know he's not accomplishing anything? I think they should put some rechargeable electric recharger on that, so they could just run and just charge some battery off its exercise. But anyhow, so this sore travail, this is what God has given to man. It's just you're 18, you're like, I'm gonna take over the world. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna make some money, and you're there doing it, and you say, wait a minute, but other people have done this before. What am I doing? Now, it doesn't mean that you don't make some money. But it is like, you got to get a wife, you got to get kids, you got to get this, you got to get that. And you pull back and say, wait a minute, what is this task? Everybody's doing this. I'm going to read it again for you. I gave my heart to seek and search out wisdom. A scientist does this. You pay a person every day to go into a lab and to figure out what's in that leaf, what's in that bark, what's in the air, what's in this. Do a survey, do this, do that. And you do it and pay. And they do that, and then at 70 they drop dead, and then somebody come along and start the same process. And then you say, wait a second, are we like that hamster? Hopefully I'm saying it right. He just run. And he runs. And you're like, what's the point? And I remember years back I was talking to somebody that was in their 60s, going close to 70, and I say, what is the purpose of your life? What was life all about for you? And they say, I'm still asking myself the question. I don't know what I was here for. I know it was the point of my life. And I'm like, you're a Christian, you're Adventist, You're about to be 70. You don't know what you're there for here for. He said, no, I don't really know. I don't know what life is still all about. But he ran and play golf, have kids, and do all this stuff. And like, yeah, what's the point of this? This is what Solomon is saying. I gave my heart to seek and search out wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. I do this, and I do this on a daily basis. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. It's God give it to you. So I'm gonna get, Bible says, by the sweat of your brow shall eat bread. And God said, look, you're gonna work. If you don't work, you don't eat. And God said, I want you to be curious. There's a curiosity that we're built with. Even if it's just curiosity for gossip. Human beings are curious. They want to know, how did this happen? How does this come about? You know, is Elvis Presley still alive? And somebody will spend the rest of their life trying to figure out if Elvis Presley was alive. Or how did they kill JFK? Who really killed JFK? Did we go to the moon? What is other thing people try to find out? You know, the Gulf of Tonkin. What happened there? The tanker that was blown up yesterday in near Iran. Is this a torpedo that was sent by the Americans or Russian or British or French or the Iranian? Who really did that? You could just keep studying. And you just do it. And you're just like a gerbil or whatever it is, that thing that just run. I don't know where it's going. It's not going nowhere. Because it's just moving his leg. The thing is just spinning, run around in a circle. But this is saying, he says, God give us this thing. And this is why we have to be careful, especially as I say, to live a life of vanity. The more vain we live, is the more this life will feel like we're just like going around a circle for going nowhere. You know, I saw an article this morning about these two young men that died of drug overdose. And the two of them were brothers, 18 and 19, in the same family. It was a family of 4 boys, wife, husband, 4 boys, and seemed to be living a middle-class lifestyle. And the 2 of them overdosed the same time and died. 2 kids in one family, 18 and 19. They didn't even get to that point where they start hitting that, hey, let's go get some girls, let's get more alcohol, more drugs. No, that was it. Lights out. But this is a source of travail. So even that you can get caught up into. I keep looking at it, like, what's going on? I want to understand more. And I do that still because I realize that's what God gave us to do. We need to understand. But one has to be careful of just, that's all. After you gain all that information, and I've known people, I've read about people do this, they gain all that information, all that knowledge, and they say, time for lights out, and they go take some chemical or shoot themselves. And it's sore travail. Notice verse 14 says, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. It's meaningless and it just make you upset. Verse 15 says, that which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. Now, here I've learned 2 things in life. It is true, when something is crooked, you can't make it straight. You have to accept this. You can't say, no, it's wrong. I don't say it's wrong, I say it's right. What I do say, though, is that if something or somebody is crooked and they want to be made straight, it can be made straight. That's the only time. A person that is crooked, if they desire to. Now, if I desire for them to make it straight, the only thing I can do is I can pray to God. And as I'm praying to God, the first thing I remember, God, I'm not asking you something that you don't want. I know you want John to be straight. I know you desire more than me to be straight. And I know, God, you're working on John's heart and life to make him straight. I don't tell God, God wants everybody to be saved more than I do. All I do, I acknowledge that God wants John to be straight. Because somehow, you can't go to God, hey, God, I want you to save my son. God be like, man, that's my son. I lent him to you. I want your son to be straight more than you want him to be straight. I love him more than you. I sent my son to die for him. That's how much I love him. But whatever is crooked cannot be made straight. And so say, God, put the desire in him to want to be straight. And God says, I already tried. And so what it is, that's why prayer is different when you understand God and who you're talking to. Because often I realize when I've dealt with parents that all the crookedness that the kids they're praying for is exhibiting is in them. A lot of the ill, the addictive behavior is in them, and they can't take it. They don't like how the kid is crooked, but they don't realize probably they're not displaying the because I know people, they're OCD. You can't get them off one topic, you can't get them off one whatever, and the kids is OCD, but it's for drugs. No, they look at it and say, why is my kid OCD? Why is my kid have obsessive compulsive disorder for drugs? And I'm like, you have obsessive compulsive disorder, you just can't see it. You just have it in your conversation. You talk in an obsessive compulsive way. You can't break topic. You're always on the same thing over and over again. You're like addicted. I'm like, oh. And so when the person is praying, they need to pray, God, what is it I'm doing to influence my child right? How can I influence? Because sometimes the block is in the parent. It's something about the parents that's messing up the kids. Now, sometimes it's the kids develop their own madness. We have inherited and cultivated tendency to sin. Sometimes we cultivated ourselves. Many times the parents is what cultivated in us. And the parents is praying to get rid of a problem that they're they're putting in. Like these parents, oh son, come, let me lick your head. And then they say, why is the son so worthless? You're licking his head too much. Just stop taking your tongue and licking his head. Let him use a comb to comb his hair. So that's kind of what it is. So that which is crooked can't be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I always say in church, I've learned to do church in a way that I say people have to count themselves. So if I say I'm 1 or 2 or wherever I fall in the numbering, I can't say that you're number 3. You have to say you're number 3. I can't count you. Because whatever is lacking can't be made up. And I want to make it up, but you need to make up it of yourself. You have to say, hey, I'm number 3. I'm like, okay, he's number 3. I acknowledge it. I acknowledge it. I don't count for the person. The person has to want it for themselves. Very important, because that's where the vanity stop. You see, I've learned I've wasted a lot of time trying to do ministry because I wanted it more for the person than they wanted for themselves. But I learned that when I'm doing ministry, talking about, remember I said in the beginning that Jesus Christ didn't live a vain life. So you can't take this text and you understand who's talking. It's Solomon talking in his vain life. Jesus didn't live a vain life. The life to save sinners is never vain and meaningless. He has purpose to it. It's a purposeful life. So when a person count themselves, anything I do for them is never vain. I don't waste my time. Any effort I make is never a waste of time. And I've proven that to be true. When a person says, Lord, I'm number 5. And if I do whatever to move mountains for that person, long term is always a blessing because the person counted themselves. They have to want it for themselves. If they're not hoping their heart to the Spirit, it's not the Spirit not influencing people. People haven't hope in their heart to the Spirit. They've locked their heart and made their heart become stone. So, but the moment they say, Lord, I want your blessing, and I want someone to minister to me, I'll do my best. A few more verses and then I go into some more before we close. It says, I communed with mine own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate and gotten more wisdom than all that they have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. So he's talking about this is truth, all of this information. And he says all meaningless. And I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. And I perceived that also is vexation of spirit. So notice his spirit was vexed all the time. Wisdom, madness. He just know madness. That means, if he was in modern time, he will take crack cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, K2, all type of liquors, everything. You try all of that and say, okay, next. And he try folly. Let's try jumping off of a bridge. Have a bucket list. Solomon is the perfect bucket list person. He would just jump off of every bridge, go on the Empire State Building, jump off of that, jump off of the Twin Tower, go over to Dubai, jump off the Burj Khalifa or Burj, whatever it's called. Go over to Chicago, jump off of that building, whatever, Sears Tower, and just keep jumping off of stuff and like, yeah. And they say, okay, after I've done all that, let's go to Mount Everest. Or go to Mount Everest, almost died, lose 2 toes. Someone come back and like, hey, I take that off my bucket list off, so I lost 2 toes. And then he said, but what was all of that about? It was vanity of vanity. Now I'm going to tell you something. If you're not Solomon and you decide, what, Ben, I want to open up an orphanage. I want to take care of some kids who are less fortunate. That's not vanity. See, but that's not what Solomon was into. He was into the vain lifestyle. And he says all of that is vexation. He didn't say, I want to see how much charity work I can do. I can see how much poor people I can help. He says, I must see how much folly and madness I can live. And that's vexation of spirit. Verse 18, for in much wisdom is grief, and in the increasing of knowledge is the increase of sorrow. The more you learn about this world and how wicked it is the more you can increase sorrow. So that's why it's important to me to not live a meaningless life. Because when you live a meaningless life, it's rough. You know, you could just decide that you're going to consume your life and you're going to make every waking hour of your day watching popcorn movies. You know, the movies, when I say popcorn movies, I don't know, there's a way for it. It's these movies that they're just like shoot up movies. You know, there's a high speed chase. There's no plot to the movie. It's just excitement, and there's flying and riding and bikes, you know, and people just, you know, going through this like rush hour speed, you know, that type of movie where it's just a lot of excitement, but there's no meaning to it. And when you finish, you're like, that was fun, but what was the point of that movie? And you could make your life just like that. You could sit there and watch soap operas, you watch this, and it's just that was emotional. What was that? What? Nothing. You could live a life with no integrity. That means that you're up for the biggest buyer. You could be that female that basically, hey, look, I'm gonna have sexual relationships, so let's just give it to the highest bidder. Whoever's richer, I'll throw it out there to him, and that's your life. Whoever gonna bribe you if you're in a job that is supposed to have some integrity, just take the bribe. That's your life. And what's the point of life? You could live a life without honor. Same thing. You could live a life, you feel like an animal. Everything you do, you feel like an animal that is a trained animal. You ever observe an animal in the zoo? You think human beings live like an animal in the zoo, or a performing animal? So every time you do a roll or a jump, somebody give you a biscuit. And there's people who live life like that. And that's vanity and vexation of spirit. I don't know what could be more vexing. That, you know, I remember this lady I was talking to, and she said, Lloyd, I want a husband that when I say jump, he says, how high? And I look at her and say, but the type of guys you're attracted to, they're going to tell you to jump. And you could even say how high, because, you know, they probably will knock you down if you say how high. So you kind of confused there, because it's kind of strange. And this was somebody I was counseling with. I don't know if they were taking my counsel, but I was trying. Because they are attracted to people who, they want to tell you how high, and they want somebody who to tell high. So I say, okay, but if you want somebody that when you say jump, they say how high, that other person is more like a nerdish person. And they say, I'm not attracted to people like that. So you're crazy, man. It's a life of vanity. This is so the one person like is an animal biscuit thing. You know, the person jump and they say, here's a biscuit. And they're going to give them something else anyhow. Life lived without a Sabbath rest is vanity. You know, when I see people just living a life where from Sabbath to Sabbath, they just mow the lawn, or, you know, whatever. And that's all life is. It's just about the lawn, about whatever. And then for them, all life is just that. To me, the Sabbath is one of the best cures, if you keep it holy, for a life of vanity. Because you realize there's something more to life than just simply pay the bills, mow the lawn, go to the movies, go to the mall, buy some food. You know, that's a vain life. Ain't no value to the life. A life with pop music, you just listen to the latest, greatest music. The life, it's just, everything about life has nothing to. Everything you do, it has no meaning. If you stop doing it, it doesn't matter. A life of drugs, drunkenness, and partying, meaningless life. Reading and watching fiction all the time, meaningless life. Sports, you talk about sports and view sports as if you're talking about heart surgery, because it's so important. It's all about life. And then somebody win a championship, and you're like, why did they win? I don't know what they win. They just got a lot of sports endorsement. So in the closing, Ecclesiastes close, and I'm going to go straight to the closing for this reason. Because it closed by saying this in Ecclesiastes 12, verse 12 through 14. And further by these, my son, be admonished. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is weariness to the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every work into judgment, every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So in the end, after, we're going to go through all of this, but in the end, after Solomon analyzed all this vanity of vanity, all he came to is like, you know what happened? After all this, you know what I missed? I'd stopped keeping the commandments of God. I stopped living for Jesus. I stopped living a righteous life. I stopped living a vain life, and it was vexation of spirit. So I encourage you today, Don't go down that road. Don't live a life of vanity. Don't live a life that is only vexation of spirit. Live a life that has meaning, that the things you do, it's true, it's honest, it's pure, it's lovely, if it's of good report. Not only think on those things, but do those things. When you do, you're going to say, life is not vexing. I'm not a circus clown. I don't need somebody to give me a biscuit every time I jump and I roll. So I don't need to be a performance clown for people. I need to do things, my job, the things I do, the things I about is about real value and real meaningful living. And when you live a meaningful life, I'm going to tell you, you won't have that vexation of spirit. You won't feel depressed. Think about all these people depressed. They're depressed because their life is meaningless. Everything they do is just popcorn. It's just you can get a popcorn and watch the nonsense. Why live like that? We live for Jesus. God will bless you. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you for the blessings of this day that you have given to us, and for the blessing, dear Lord, that we can make a difference in the lives of not only ourselves, but of others that are around us by doing things that are meaningful. May you bless us, dear Lord, that our lives may have purpose and value, and that we might take everything we have and everything we are and put it on your side in your way and be blessed. Thanks for all you do for us, for Christ's sake. Amen. Thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live Monday morning. Well, I should talk about motivation. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.